Hey, we're here a little bit further down, or further east, heading towards the Cape now. We were just on the South Shore, still on the South Shore, just in a different particular location of it, in a very iconic, southern New England habitat type. These are this is a nice sandy coastal pond shore. So a lot of these were kettle holes left behind by the last period of glaciation. They kind of almost function as bogs. However, there's a specific thing going on here with the substrate. You'll note there's no real mats forming out across this. So despite being a very acidic and anoxic, water body, you're not really getting, what you typically get inland, what you typically get up north with these floating mats of peat. It's not a fen, it's not a bog, it's a sandy, gravelly pond shore. And were you to take a look at the habitat surrounding this, which we certainly will, you would see that this is a pretty typical pitch pine barren. You get pitch pines almost exclusively dominating the overstory, Pinus rigida. Down in the mid-story, you're going to get your Clethra alnifolia, you're going to get your blueberries, you're going to get a ton of low-brush blueberries, Vaccinium angustifolium, maybe some Myrica, maybe some other stuff going on, but predominantly pine trees, blueberries, very thin soil, very nutrient poor, very acidic, and the plants that make their homes here range from globally rare to narrow endemic to not uncommon in New England. They just need this specific habitat type to do their thing. So actually, the very specific plant that I wanted to come out here and show you, everything's right here. You come out, it's a short walk from my vehicle to come out here. So, I've done a couple videos from different pond shores. This one does not have, Sabatia canadiana, does not have Eupatorium nova anglii, which also grow in, this type of habitat. But it does have a plant that I've always wanted to see that does grow. I guess this is a little bit too open for those other species. Whatever, you get the idea. Slightly different habitat, going to produce slightly different species. Right here, you've got, where I came out here, you get a really cool, very hard to focus in on species of Drosera. Now, I saw 3 species of Drosera here already. This is Drosera filiformis. This is the thread-leaved Sundew. And indeed, those are the leaves. Those are the sticky traps. So Drosera, for the unindoctrinated, is a genus of carnivorous plant in the family Droseraceae. They occur all around the world. It's a very species-rich genus of plant. It's the same family as Venus flytrap, however, it's a different genus. Venus flytrap is monotypic. It is in the genus Dionia. There's only one species in that. That is the Venus flytrap, completely restricted to the areas, or the boggy swales around Wilmington, North Carolina. So anyway, that's this guy right here. We get a ton of interesting stuff to look at. These are the spent inflorescences. Some of them, they have pink flowers. Some of them are still just barely hanging on. We'll take a look at that. Maybe we'll get some Drosera rotundifolia flowers. I think I'm sitting right next to a stink patch of Drosera intermedia. I'll show you that guy. So filiformis is a big ass Drosera, dude. The other 2 species that I see actually somewhat frequently are Drosera rotundifolia and Drosera intermedia. The round-leaved sundew and the spoon-leaved sundew, respectively. And those are here. I'll lean over. I'll show you Drosera intermedia. But this one is not commonly seen. All right. So it's abundant where it occurs, but it needs the specific habitat type to really, flourish and do its thing. I don't know if it's got a limited distribution globally. I'll have to put up the distribution map there for you to look at, or you could tell me what you think. But I've heard that where this occurs, it is typically relatively abundant. And again, why are there carnivorous plants here? Well, that water body there is very nutrient deficient. This sand here, very nutrient deficient. Hard for anything to really you know, get its nitrogen fix, get its vitamins, and yeah, that's how they, that's kind of how they do their thing. So anyway, right next door to him, if you can make that out, that's Drosera intermedia right there. So smaller species, different looking flowers. These, the intermedia, and I think rotundifolia, both put out white flowers, but it's real interesting. So we'll take a look. There's plenty to take in here. I'll kind of have to break this up. I want to take good pictures too, so just bear with me. Okay, what you got right here is an old favorite. Not unique to the this type of sandy habitat, but certainly prevalent in it. This is one of only 2 native melastomes. In fact, probably the only genus of non-tropical Melastomataceae you get anywhere. This is Rhexia virginica. Melastomes are pretty much all found in the tropics. It won't zoom in. Come on, get in on the bud there. Just whatever, you get the idea. Come on, there we go. Lovely batch of really weird anthers there. Pretty typical for the family. Very easy to recognize. These will turn pink tomorrow, and then the whole flower will drop off. 4 petals, kind of fuzzy. Yeah, kind of fuzzy on the back there. You can see there's that calyx. Alternate leaves with very characteristic venation there. It's really hard to mistake a melastome once you know what it looks like. Opposite leaves, usually somewhat fuzzy, very severe and characteristic venation. Crazy looking anthers, usually 4 petals, very attractive flowers, you know. Not unique to this habitat, but very prevalent in it. You get Rhexia marylandica, or marylandicum too, way out on the Cape, allegedly. I've never seen that one. This one I get, you know, right in my hometown too, but it's just everywhere when you come out to these types of habitats. What is a bit more unique to these types of habitats, and it is a rare plant, is this diminutive little aster, and I always screw this guy up. This is Coreopsis rosea. Coreopsis has a number of very popular and very commonly planted ornamental species in it. However, this is the one that's native to New England. I think it's the only one native to New England, and it's rather rare. This one you get along, certainly this habitat, maybe a couple other types of like sand plain type habitats down south, you know. Flip this guy over. Give you the filaries there. Oh, the sun's coming out. God damn, that's hot. It's been a balmy, horrible summer. See, this is why you can't rely on the auto zoom, because it works like crap. Yeah, there's the filaries on the underside. Near filamentous leaves on the thing. Very cool. Very pretty. Just, you know, very easy to mistake with some other type of aster. Coreopsis, where'd you go? Coreopsis rosea. Not too bad. You get plenty of it here. I actually saw, for a second, one of the Drosera that I thought had a flower on it, but I could be mistaken, whatever. Another, you know, not terribly rare, but iconic plant of these communities. You get Gratiola, aurea, the golden hedge-hyssop. I always get the family wrong. I'm pretty sure this is not Scrofulariaceae. This would be Plantaginaceae, or it could just be Lamiaceae, something in the mint family. So what, you know, Lamiales is certainly the order with the zygomorphic flower, opposite leaves, you know, beautiful tubular corollas on these guys. Always love to see this plant. Very abundant in these habitats. It'll usually, you know, it'll dot the shores of these things pretty abundantly. Okay, well, I lost what I thought was my little Drosera flower, but that's okay. Coming over here, this tiny diminutive little thing. Can you even make that out? Well, do the manual zoom for a second here. This tiny little guy. This is a species of Eriocaulon. This is a graminoid. Eriocaulon, I think aquaticum, that's the more common one. There's a much more rare one. Yes, there's a whole patch from here. Little white flower heads. It's just a cluster of tiny little Eriocaulon flowers. These are graminoids, so these are in the order Poales. However, they're in their own family, Eriocaulaceae. Down in South America, they get a whole bunch of these. They're real interesting. Contrary to what people keep regurgitating, I won't say who, I won't blame him, he doesn't know. These are not limited to the southeast United States. You get them up north too. Maybe as far north as Nova Scotia. We just get the two species. One's kind of common in the right habitats, which is aquaticum, and then there's another one that's a bit more rare. I can't tell the difference between the two, so hopefully the pictures I took of this one are good enough to discern which is which. Alright, so that's a couple of the other plants you got here. That threadleaf sundew is just absolutely everywhere. I'm going to walk back. There was even more of them where I started out. Another Coreopsis, real pretty. Eriocaulon. That Eriocaulon is sometimes emergent, but the water is low this year. The water is rather low. Yeah, once you get down, you can really see this is actually kind of everywhere. It's a cool plant. More of that Gratiola, aurea. Again, just specialists of this strip. This strip between the pond and the scrub is where they do their business. All those little yellow dots are all the Gratiola aurea. Let's go see what else is going on. So coming up almost inside of a sundew, you have a really cool species of the family Xyridaceae here. I thought at one time this was the sister family, the Orchidaceae, but I might be wrong on that. Some of these are quite rare, and they have a real bizarre floral habit to them, so I guess the flowers emerge. Yeah, there you go, zoom in, from this little bulb here, and it just makes these little grass blade like leaves. I've never talked about this family before. I've seen it a couple times and I always drop the ball because it's an afterthought, but they're real weird. I don't know much about them. I'll have to see if I can key it out or talk to somebody who knows. There's honestly 4 or 5 species of them in New England. Only one is somewhat common. The rest are pretty damn rare. Yeah, it looks like a flower kind of aborted and came out, so yeah, they're monocots, I can tell you that for sure. Definitely asparagales. Real weirdos. Diminutive. You could so easily, as with many of these plants, so easily miss that. Coming up with the Drosera filiformis. That's a big Drosera. That's a cool one. More of those spent inflorescences. We'll go see if we could find one that's maybe got a little flower or two. Even if it's in bad shape, that's better than nothing, right? Okay, see, there you go. There's a nice Drosera flower. This is Drosera intermedia. Still has one. I guess they're rather, Drosera flowers in general are rather short-lived. But look at this guy just hanging out in the damp sand. Not a care in the world. Doing pretty well for a little Drosera intermedia. That's a healthy-looking guy. Not bad. Yeah, there you go. You're not going to get any more open than that, but that's at least the color on the Drosera filiformis flowers there. So nice pink flower. It's a bigger overall plant than intermedia or rotundifolia. That's pretty cool. That's a really nice one. Big, relatively large pink flower. These are in the order Careophyllales, so a lot of these Drosera share a more common ancestor, with cacti, that are a more recent common ancestor with cacti than they do with pitcher plants. It's actually quite incredible to think about. But yeah, these are just about at the end of their season in terms of flowering. So what happened was, you see the base of this raceme here? They probably send out 1 or 2 a day, and I think they're just about done. So this probably just wrapped up its last bloom for the year. July would have been the time to come out and see these, but I was a little bit busy, and you got to come out early because they, as evidenced by the fact that this one's already done, close up shop pretty darn early. There's actually another one right there in the center frame, if you can just make that out. So, and in any case, we can honestly get close to wrapping this one up. Came out here for this, but I mean, there's a ton of interesting plants. I've just talked about most of these at least once or twice. Good to see a different ponshore. This is a different, the vibe is different here than it is at the one I historically always end up going to, but that's okay. Variety is the spice of life, and seeing plants more than once is far from the worst thing that you could do in this hobby. So yeah, let's go see what else we got. So being large might be an adaptation for these, because these are growing full sun on dry sand. This is more Drosera filiformis. That's just dry sand. How are they doing that? You can't let most species of Drosera dry out. They'll wither. Maybe they'll, you know, die back and then re-emerge when they get water again. But these guys are just thriving here. What the fuck? That is something I've not seen before. That's crazy. I knew that. Don't get me wrong. There's carnivorous plants that can hack it in the, you know, hack it in the sand like this. Heard about a really cool. God, there's a crime paste about in the episode about this, where it's like this really cool scrofe, Eriocaulaceae, I think, that is carnivorous in it. Basically has sticky leaves underneath crystalline sand. That's kind of eerily similar to what's going on here, although not, I mean, not at all actually, but just yeah, you can get carnivorous plants on dry soil. I forget that. I'm so used to seeing Drosera just exclusively growing inundated, but these are doing very well on the sand too. Obviously, you know, back over there where we just were, that's not grass over there, that's all Drosera filiformis. But what the I didn't expect to see that. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. Okay, so over here you got what looks like Drosera rotundifolia, the round-leaved sundew, the one I see most commonly, and one of the smaller little buggers. Of course, you still have your Drosera filiformis growing right alongside it, just a little one. And then another completely unrelated carnivorous plant there, that is in the family Plantaginaceae. That is a distant relative of mints. That is a, oh god, am I going to get it? Utricularia. So that's Utricularia, maybe cornuta. There's a few species. I get them confused. The other site I go to gets Utricularia purpurea, which is pretty obvious to pick out because it's purple. This is a yellow one. If it was Utricularia cornuta, it'd be the horned bladderwort. And these guys don't, their leaves are basically in the muck there. And what their leaves are doing is they make little traps that get, you know, protozoan, amoebas, stuff like that, that's down in the soil or under the water. And that's how they, you know, are doing their version of carnivory. I have incorrectly said numerous times to modified roots. These don't do roots at all unless they're facultative. Those are just heavily modified leaves under the soil there, serving their needs. So, you know, carnivory, you get it, it's convergent evolution, it's a convergent trait amongst numerous unrelated lineages. I had the excellent opportunity to see one of the other members of the family Plantaginaceae, our native pinguicula, which, while common globally, is extremely rare in New England just because of the habitat type it needs. Doesn't really occur here. You know, calcareous, damp, cool, calcareous cliff faces are at a premium in New England. However, you know, Utricularia here, unlike pinguicula, you know, you see this a lot. This is probably one of the more commonly encountered carnivorous genera in New England. Along with Drosera, you would think they'd be rare. They pop up, especially rotundifolia pops up in all sorts of places. Don't expect to see it. You just need a nutrient poor habitat and basically, you know, full exposure for it to grow. Actually, if you look over there, we'll go do that real quick. I got a whole nice patch of that cornice over here. Or not cornice. I don't know why I keep wanting to say cornice. I think it's because of the epithet cornuta. But you get a nice patch of that, Utricularia right there. Bladder and a nice Drosera filiformis. What a great habitat. Just so many interesting, rare and interesting plants. You don't get the actual, you know, none of the actual kind of narrow endemics here, like Eupatorium nova anglia. You don't even get the Savati kennediana here, from what I can tell. But plenty of other interesting stuff. And I think we'll go take a little shot of what's going on in the forest back here, so you can get the context of what grows not around the pond shore, but rather in this you know, scrubby forest. And we'll go off to our last site of the day, which is also another pond like this, but one that's a bit boggier. It's got different target species there. So Drosera filiformis grows in abundance where it likes to grow. Just this habitat is what's rare. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes a plant would be quite common, quite dominant, if not for the fact that its habitat type is the rarity. So I think we'll go check in with the forest, and we'll move on to our next spot. Yeah, okay, so we'll get close to closing this out. Pardon the road noise behind us. So a couple dominant species you got to think about when you think about these pine barrens. You're mostly dealing with Pinus rigida, the pitch pine, three-needled pine, and really the only one in New England that's closely related to the other, southern trending species. You get Pinus strobus, which is actually right there, right behind with the smooth bark, the 5 needles, much softer, friendlier plant. Not the most common one here, but certainly the most common one in New England, especially southeastern New England. But pitch pine can take a lot more crap. Pinus strobus can take a lot of crap too, but pitch pine's on a whole other level with it. Grows quite scraggly. Dominates these coastal pine barrens. You can find it in bogs too. Doesn't really care much about the hydrology. Can take it dry, can take it wet, can just really thrive in the poorest of soils. Pinus banksiana does that too, but Pinus strobus and Pinus banksiana, two other New England pines, are much more closely related to a West Coast species, especially Pinus strobus. It's the only soft pine on the East Coast. I think it's most closely related to sugar pine, Pinus lambertiana, and Pinus chiapensis, which is a Mexican species, and then Pinus, banksiana, which can grow and forms pine barrens just like this, just not here. Nova Scotia has a ton of that. I think Acadia as well. I could be mistaken on Acadia, but definitely Nova Scotia forms pine barrens with pine and blueberry, different species. The pitch pine tapers off as you go north. This is one of the principal species in the Jersey pine barrens too. So you get pitch pine, Pinus rigida, you get some Pinus strobus, you get a ton of scrubby low-growing oaks that can just be dwarfed versions of red oak, Quercus rubra, or even just actual scrub oaks like Pinus salicifolia, or like a dwarf chinkapin oak, Quercus prenoides, very common around these parts. What else? Every once in a while you get your odd red maple doing pretty okay in this habitat. But then other than that, you get a ton of ericaceous plants. So you get, obviously, vaccinium, angustifolium, kind of past its prime there. Low brush blueberry, the berries are starting to dry out now. You get this guy right here. You can get this in a lot of places in the world. Anywhere you get sand and poor soil. This is a species of Arctostaphylos. This is Arctostaphylos uva-ursi. I think you get this all the way west in Alaska. 90% of the diversity in this genus Arctostaphylos is out in California and northwestern Mexico. Don't quote me on that. Definitely a lot of diversity in this genus in California. We've only got the one species on the East Coast, and it's pretty widespread. Arctostaphylos uva-ursi. Not in bloom. Blooms really early in the year. What is in bloom, a completely different, but also ericaceous plant, in Eriocaulaceae. You get this Galteria procumbens. Doesn't necessarily need to be here. It grows in a wide variety of forest habitats, but got that little urceolate corolla. Arctostaphylos has a similar flower. A lot of Eriocaulaceae has similar flowers to that. That's kind of one of the trademarks of Eriocaulaceae right there. I hate to move out of the way there to let a couple people go by, but last thing, also quite iconic in these pine barren acidic habitats. These are the remnants of a pink lady slipper, or at least one that didn't bloom. Cypripedium McCall. Classic, probably one of the only orchids you're going to see growing in a habitat like this. Of course, you get, Melaxus bayardii grows in a similar-ish habitat down here. Some of the spiranthes too. But as far as quote-unquote common orchids go, this is pretty much what you're going to find. So, a lot of diversity in Eriocaulaceae, dominated by pines. You can get clethra alnifolia through here too, but it's a barren. That's why they call it a barren, is because it's a pretty sparse growth, all things considered, very scrubby. So anyway, we're gonna head out to one last location for today, and this will be the end of this video. The strange sundews on sandy shores. We'll call it that, or something equally stupid.